Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Drop, and this is my performance review of the Anta Zap 1. So this is Donte Divincenzo's signature shoe. I don't know why he has a signature shoe, but he does. And as you guys all know, or if you guys didn't know, Anta makes absolutely amazing basketball shoes. You know what I mean? Anta, Li Ning, Way of Wade, even though Li Ning owns Way of Wade, amazing performing shoes, amazing quality, amazing cushioning setups for an amazing price. So Famuji is selling the Zap 1 for only $120. Which is crazy. You know, some other sites are selling for like 180, 170 bucks, but Famuji only 120 bucks, which is really, really good. Especially for the tech that you're getting full length and two foam, you know what I mean? So yeah, if you guys do want to cop, try to leave a link in the description box. And let's get it started right off with the traction. So they're using smear traction. You know what I mean? It looks like the smear traction, at least from Nike, right? So if you guys didn't know, Nike had smear traction on the Kyrie 8. You guys remember the Kyrie 8 and also the Zoom GT Cut 2. So the traction actually wasn't amazing in those shoes. It slid around a good amount, especially on really hard stops. So I didn't really like it all too much. I don't know how they made it good here in the Zap ones, but they did. You know what I mean? I never had any issues with the traction here. If I was doing a really hard stop, it would slide out just a tiny bit. You know what I mean? It wasn't like crazy bad or anything. Just a tiny bit, but for the most part, it was a really consistent stop. You know what I mean? So if I was playing on a clean court, I had really good stops, pretty much top tier. Although I would say it doesn't stop as hard as like the AE1 or like the AR1, but still a really, really nice stop if you're playing on a clean court for the Zap 1. Also, you don't really have to break it in. It's pretty much good right out the box. So of course, that's really good. And also, if you're playing on a dusty court, it picks up really minimal dust. You know what I mean? It was picking up a little bit of dust, but it doesn't pick it up that fast, right? And also, if it does pick up dust, it's a very easy wipe. You know what I mean? So I didn't really have any huge issues with dust, but if I let a little too much dust pick up on the shoe, it does start to slide around a little bit more, but like I said, it doesn't pick up dust that quickly, and also it's a very easy wipe. So honestly, I didn't really have any issues playing on a dirty or dusty court. So the Zap 1 has really good performance on dust, and also for outdoor use, you should be fine. You know what I mean? The rubber is actually really hard, especially where the smear traction pattern is. It's pretty hard, and the grooves are really deep, so I feel like that'll be actually pretty good. Although it is pretty spaced apart, there's not a whole lot of surface area. I don't think it'll be terrible for outdoor use, right? So the overall traction was really good. I had a really good time playing the Zap 1 because of its phenomenal traction. So there's that. Moving on to the heel to toe transition. It's a very, very smooth heel to toe transition as well, right? So here in the heel, we have a nice curved shape, and look at this kind of foam. The foam is pretty much exposed. It is kind of caged, as you guys can see a little bit, but we have a nice compression in the heel. And then coming here into the forefoot, look at this. Very, very curved shape. So I really like this. It has a rocker shape here in the forefoot, which kind of keeps you on your toes, and it feels really nice, especially when you're shooting. You know what I mean? When you're shooting, you kind of want to be more on your toes, and that definitely does help. And we have a good amount of forefoot flex. You know, it's a pretty flexible shoe. You need to put a little bit of force into it, and it does feel pretty springy, right? And when you kind of let go, it has a nice kind of spring back as well. So yeah, overall heel to toe transition is very, very smooth, and it does feel kind of springy here in the forefoot. Of course, comparing it to like shoes that have full length carbon fiber plates, you know, like the Liren 4, the Wild 10, and also the GT Cut 3 is very, very springy as well. It's not as springy as those, but this does have a little bit of a springiness to it as well. So overall heel to toe transition feels great. You know, it's very, very smooth. Now moving on to the cushioning setup. The cushioning setup, okay, so Anta is killing it. I love what they're doing. So first of all, the step and comfort is really, really nice. Okay, so the insole is not nice. It's a very, very thin insole, but you don't really need a very plush insole because of what they're doing underneath that, right? So the strobe board, we have this very, very open, look at that. So they're using full length and two foam, and here in the heel, you can feel it. Like if you press it with your finger, it's super duper soft, you know what I mean? So you have really good step and comfort and underfoot cushioning here in the heel, and also in the forefoot. Here in the midfoot, you can see this carbon fiber, I believe it's carbon fiber, right? Midfoot shank plate, you know, it is top loaded, so that obviously makes it stiff here in the midfoot. So here in the heel and forefoot, it's very, very nice. Court feel also is really nice. You feel pretty dang low to the ground. Also, we have a little bit of compression here in the heel. That feels nice. It's comfortable. Although it is caged, there is a little bit of compression. Overall impact protection also is really, really good, especially on heel strikes. If you're landing here in the forefoot hard, I was covered. My feet really didn't hurt. So with the N2 foam, it feels really nice and plush, right? But it does feel pretty thin. You know what I mean? So comparing to like the Kai 1, which I did play in the Kai 1 and also the Zap 1, I was testing both of the shoes at pretty much at the same time. The Kai 1, it feels like the N2 foam is a lot thicker, right? So it's a lot more plush, it's a lot more comfortable. However, the Zap 1 feels a little bit more, I guess, responsive. The Kai 1's still, of course, responsive, but the Zap 1 feels a little bit more responsive because the N2 foam feels a little bit thinner. There's not as much like compression from the actual N2 foam, you know what I mean, like underneath your foot. So it's more of like a responsive, like a little bit stiffer feeling setup than the Kai 1, but although the Zap 1 is still really nice and plush and comfortable, you know what I mean? So the overall cushioning setup feels absolutely amazing, especially for guards, you know? It's really hard to do cushioning, or was really hard to do cushioning setups like this a long time ago, or like at least a couple years ago, because with a traditional stroll board, you don't really have amazing step and comfort, you know what I mean? I guess besides like Zoom stroll board or whatever. But yeah, they're giving us that open mesh for the stroll board and improve the step and comfort, but also it's really responsive too. So they're blending like responsiveness but also plushness and comfort really well in all the Anta shoes, and also lean-in, you know what I mean? So anyways, I love the cushioning setup. Now moving on to the upper. So the upper is really thin. Look at that. It's just this kind of like open, like it kind of reminds me of like a screen mesh with this. It's like a plastic material, right? And there are some underlaying materials as well. It's really thin, as you guys can see. And then at the tip of the toe we have a layer of fuse as well for extra durability and support. But yeah, so durability definitely doesn't feel like it'll be good for the material, especially here in the toe box, right? Because it is so thin. I haven't really had any huge issues or anything, but over the long run, if you're playing in it for like 6 months or something like that, I definitely feel like this won't last very well. Maybe it might even tear because that's how thin this material is. But overall, just how it felt on foot when I was playing in it, it feels really nice, right? It's supportive, you know, it doesn't stretch at all, but also extremely thin, conforms to my foot really well. So I didn't really have any issues with this material really at all, you know? And also here in the midfoot, look at how thin it is. It stays extremely thin. It's not stiff really at all. Even where the eyelets are, it's a very thin material. And then for the tongue, there's actually not that much padding. It's also a half booty construction tongue with this kind of like mesh material, giving you a better overall one-to-one fit. And also, as you guys can see, the eyelets kind of turn into these straps that kind of go all the way down into the material where, you know, obviously the laces go through. And then here in the ankle area, we have very minimal padding too, right? Like where your Achilles is, it does get a little bit thicker, but for the most part, it is very minimal. It does kind of like cup your heel for better lockdown. But anyways, for the overall material, it feels really thin, very minimal, but also very supportive, which I did like. However, the overall quality, I would say, is pretty nice. You know, it doesn't feel super duper cheap, but it doesn't feel amazing for the quality either. And now moving on to the fit, I went true to size, and this shoe fits me like a glove, right? So my toes go pretty much right to the edge of the shoe. It's pretty snug here in the toe box, and width-wise, I would say it is slightly narrow. So I do like a very snug fit, and me going true to size is a very nice, snug, perfect fit for me. So if you like that kind of fit, then I would suggest going true to size. If you want it a little bit looser, then probably go up half a size, right? But for the most part, I feel like most people would be okay going true to size. So yeah, it's a really nice fit for me. And then moving on to the support and lockdown, I had zero issues, even though this material is really thin, right? As far as lateral containment goes, all the necessary lateral counters are there. You know, as you guys can see here in the forefoot, we have this kind of like plastic piece. It says N2 right here. And then here in the midfoot, we have the Anta logo, right? It kind of stiffens up the material a little bit, not that much, but it definitely makes it a little bit more supportive. And then here in the heel, we have an internal TPU heel counter, it feels like. So lateral containment, my foot was not coming out of the footbed really at all. Support's overall really nice for how thin and minimal this upper is, you know? Lateral stability is also really good. Look at this. You know, it literally says a stable up. They actually named it, but it's just this kind of like outrigger. It's a very crazy outrigger. It protrudes out like crazy, as you guys can see. So the lateral stability is really good. We have a very low to the ground wide base here in the forefoot, and lockdown's really good. I had no issues with heel slippage. The heel kind of like cups in, right? So it definitely does lock down the heel very well. So overall support and lockdown, I had zero issues with, and I feel like even if you're a bigger dude, you should be fine here in the Zap 1. And then moving on to the weight of the shoe, this shoe is extremely light, you know what I mean? I think it's like 11 Yeah, 11.8 ounces. Let's check the other shoe. 11.9 ounces, right? So the average weight of my shoes is around 12.5 ounces. So this is a very, very lightweight shoe. It feels extremely minimal, and also it feels really, really responsive, you know? Responsive cushioning setup, but also that feels really comfortable and plush. The traction is really responsive. You know, you have amazing bites. Supporting lockdown is really good. My foot's not like moving inside of the shoe at all. So yeah, I felt extremely quick when I was playing in the shoe, and I didn't really have to worry about it at all. And then moving on to the ventilation, amazing. So yeah, we have a lot of airflow through this kind of, it's like a screen mesh, and then there's also like another mesh material underneath that. There's a lot of airflow through it. It's super duper thin too. So it's a very well ventilated shoe. And now moving on to the aesthetics, I love it. This shoe looks absolutely amazing. The designers over at Anta and also Li Ning and Way of Wei, they need a raise. They're making some amazing looking shoes in my personal opinion. And some of the colorways of the Zap 1 looks really, really dope as well. I really like my colorway. There's also that blue and orange colorway, that mismatch colorway. That colorway looks really good too. So tell us what you guys think of the aesthetics down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up, the Zap 1 surprised me. I wasn't even gonna review these, but I got them in, and it really surprised me, right? It feels more like a lighter version, a lighter, more minimal and responsive version, and also kind of better core feel than the Kai 1, you know what I mean? So I really like that. And then the Kai 1 is more a plush, you know, especially with the padding in the ankle area. It's a little bit more plush for the material. It's more plush for the cushioning setup as well. It's a little bit more comfortable, you know what I mean? So there is a little bit of a difference there. They're both amazing for guards, you know, they're both responsive and stuff like that, but this is more just minimal, lighter, and a little bit more responsive feeling than the Kai 1s, you know? But for most people, I definitely feel like it'll be amazing. For the $120 price tag, it has better cushion than, you know, like the Book 1s, and like, you know, like the Jaw 1s and stuff like that. Is better step and comfort, but also really good traction and thinner materials as well, you know what I mean? So for guards, I feel like it'll be an amazing shoe. I really enjoyed playing in this shoe, you know? So anyways, that about concludes my performance review of the Anta Zap 1. Again, if you guys want to cop, I try to leave a link in the description box, but that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.